Welcome to the pre-final podcast of the CricBakwaas show. And just before proceeding, just to recap of the last disaster podcast, which didn't go on record. So we just had a rough review of the performance of England against Australia, and we were also joined by fantasy expert Major Crap, who ruled the chances of his team's Jason Roy not unable to convert the 100. But all's well, we still have a great contest for the finals as far as fantasy is concerned. And now we proceed to the discussion of the finals. And we have Statsboi and Banterboi. New guest today is the Banterboi.
Hi.
Banterboi was looking forward to a big show of Pakistan coming to the finals. Unfortunately, the team was not able to make it to the final four. So, what are your thoughts on Pakistan not making the final four?
Pakistan took a lot of
Mr.
time to find
Banterboi.
out their best team, so I don't know. They took a lot of time to find out their right combination and stuff. Haris Sohail came in very late. Shaheen Afridi wasn't used from the first match, and he ended up being one of their top performers. Imad Wasim, Shadab Khan. Too many changes were happening. I don't know. The England series should have been a good opportunity to find their best team, but they clearly couldn't do anything with it. They brought in Wahab Riaz and Amir very late. I don't know. So seemed like a mess from the beginning. But it's been Pakistan's characteristic over the last few years, finding their team very late.
Yeah, well said. And Statsboi, what do you think moving into the pre-match segment of the finals? What do you think about the team's mindset of both teams going into their first attempt at winning a World Cup?
Uh, uh, Good evening, everyone out there. So, if you look into it, both the teams are there is going to be at least one team which is going to win the World Cup for the first time. So both are really excited, and the captains they have captains in them who have done the hard work, who have taken their team from low positions all the way into this World Cup final. So both of them must be excited. Of course, the expectations are a lot on England because they were tagged favorites, and New Zealand are happy to stay with the good boy tag. So like as it always continues, the bad boys always win. So it will be a good difference to see if the New Zealand can achieve something which they have not done in the past.
Yeah. So, how do you think New Zealand have entered into the fray? Like, would you see? In my opinion, I think the best result of the round robin format has been the entry of New Zealand into the finals. So it was I think that was the best result of like they are not able to produce consistent cricket towards the end. But they still showed why they have to be in the final four. That was a good shout in the end.
See, look, if you look into it, New Zealand had one of the best fixtures in this World Cup if we compare all the 10 teams. They started with the weaklings. They played 4 matches on the trot. Fourth match against India did not happen. They got the points out of it anyway. So they got those 7 points up front early from all the weak teams, even before they can go on and meet the bigger guys. So that gave them the confidence, and that gave them also some sort of comfort that we have already got most of the points that we want, because at the start of the tournament we were looking at 10-point mark to confirm yourself to go into these semis. So since they were already there for the most part of it, they were in a comfort zone. They were able to still play around the last segment of last few matches in the league with with non-form batsmen also. But they were taking it a little bit casual during the end stages. The 3 continuous losses in the league was also visible in that part. But eventually they came back strong during the semis with their bowling performance. So
Yeah,
they always had the intent. It's just that they always knew they are going to qualify. So that's where the difference.
Yeah, I think the New Zealand fixture route was almost a mirror image of India. India had the toughest fixture at the beginning and then meandered to just match practice against Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. I think they're probably not tested enough, but that's a story for another day. But I guess New Zealand perspective, they made use of the round robin format to their best. They were able to bring down a top two team, technically the table topper, if we may rephrase. So, looking at what do you think about the England setup? Do you think they were very reliant on the tough start? Heavy start given by Jason Roy on the opening pair,
No,
or
I think what happened mostly was the fact it's not they're still a strong team. If you look into their batting lineup, they start with Roy, Barstow, and then Root comes, Morgan comes, Stokes comes, Butler comes. They bat all the way till number 8, number 9 at least. So if you look at it, the talent of the batting ability was always there. But they went into that situation that they usually find themselves in World Cups where they suddenly choke into, they have all the talent, but they somehow collapse out of nowhere. They went into that situation midway into the tournament and didn't know what to do. Jason Roy came in and just changed the mindset. He's something what Sehwag was doing for India. He just came in and started hitting right from ball one, so that the other guy standing, Barstow for example, he just felt comfortable. So that was the architecture, or that was the sole attitude this team has been building for the last 4 years. Midway during the tournament, they almost lost it, but Jason Roy's re-entry just brought it back.
that's true. So that's been the highlight. Like whenever their opening had a field day, they have always, they've been able to control the narrative of the match. Beat the high scoring West Indies series or the recent Pakistan series. Like their opening has always stood up quite well. I think that spoke well for them.
No, even if
And
you look at them coming into the finals, they have won all the other three semi-finalists. They won India in the league stage, they won New Zealand in the league stage, and then they won Australia in the semis. And when they go into the finals, they see a familiar foe who they beat in the last league stage. So at this stage, I must say advantage England for the mere fact that they come in strong with a recent performance. New Zealand had some ups and downs. They almost lost it against India, but that's how I look at it when we go in. What is your thought? And what is our other guys?
yeah, okay. Yeah. I think before looking at the instinctive prediction for tomorrow's game, so let's just run through the rough pitch report and any weather conditions that might affect
So,
the strategy.
so I was looking at the weather for Lords for tomorrow. It was supposed to be a little partly cloudy, but chances of rain are very low, below 10%. So it shouldn't affect the game anyway. The pitch,
So,
an image came up. It's very grassy right now, but it's obviously pre-match. So tomorrow they'll probably cut the grass. We can expect a very flat pitch. It seemed to have no cracks or anything, so a high-scoring game maybe.
no, but the traditional lot slope is something that we should be wary about when we look into it, since it's going to be like something, some advantages that the bowler could extract because of this slope. It's almost an 8-foot slope, which has always been visible even in the finals. You saw 1999, 1983. If you look at it, the scores were always average. During those days, 1983, 183 was an average score because of the bowler's talent. But given the talent, not the bowlers, I'm not saying the bowlers' talent is low, but because the batsmen are better at hitting the ball, I think this is going to lie somewhere between 200 to 240 to 250 range only, with the team batting first, having a good chance to win.
Toss is
That's what
going to
I
be a
think.
major deciding factor in the end, I guess.
So, given the toss conditions, of course, like which team do you think won't mind losing the toss of the both the sides?
See, if you look at it, being England, as I told, England bats till number 8. England doesn't mind batting second because they have players who can start taking the control, who can take the ownership and chase towards any target, be it the openers or the middle orders, which Root and Butler showed against, almost chased it against Pakistan. So England is a team who wouldn't mind chasing, but New Zealand, given their middle order crisis and given their out of form openers, are more reliant on Williamson and Taylor. And if it's going to be a high pressure situation, chasing in a high pressure match like this, they wouldn't want to be chasing. So New Zealand, I think, will want to win the toss and bat first. England wouldn't mind losing the toss, but if they win, they are going to bat first.
That's true. Do you think historical the historical attitude of both the teams? How do you think it factors in coming into the game? So if you look at, I mean, let's just look at the recent history. Like look at 2015 World Cup campaign of England. That was a sharp contrast to what New Zealand had. But right now they've come a long way, and you would think that they stand a much better chance of uh, beating the current finalist side. Yeah,
Like, do you want to take that?
yeah, no, yeah. I was just asking, like, how comparing the recent 2015 World Cup campaign of both the sides.
See, obviously, New Zealand has been on the up right from 2011 World Cup, where out of nowhere they qualified into the semis. And 2015, they almost won the World Cup. They topped the table in their group, and they went into the finals only to lose against Australia, and they have consistently performed during this year as well. So if you look at them, they have been a steady players, but England are the team that was hurt during 2015 out in the league stage, and then they went to play 2016 World T20, where they went all the way to the final and lost it there because of remember their name. So if you look at it, England were hurt in a matter of very few months. 2015 World Cup, 2016 World Cup, so they had to change their entire style. After speaking with Brendan McCullum, actually, Ian Morgan credits him for this for the entire change in his batting style as well. So if you look at it, England came back in a very hard way. They want this, they're hungry for this, even more than what New Zealand is showing. And given the way that New Zealand have also played, they haven't showed much hunger except for a few of them. If you look at it, Kane Williamson has contributed for most of the runs compared to all other batsmen there. So I think, yeah, England has a better hunger to show this. But given both of them have never actually won a World Cup final, it's going to be more about who does lesser mistakes tomorrow.
That's true. I think you made a very good point. Like that was going to embark on. The New England approach has been inspired from how Brendan McCullum led his side in the 2015 World Cup. I think that was the most enterprising side that ever graced the World Cup. Much more than how Australia played that particular World Cup. So let's proceed to.
I actually disagree with you both here. This New England side is not just the 11 players here, it's more of a structural reform they have undertaken. They've been more open to international tournaments, IPL. They've basically created a new outfit for ODI cricket alone. They've given a different respect to it. I think that has been one major factor, even at the administration level. They brought in new coaches. They changed the 11. A lot has happened. It's just not 11 players here. It's the whole cricket board that needs to be credited for the reform.
That's true. I think like basically they're crediting the we were actually looking at the entire setup of their whole approach has changed right from the root structure as well. And like when was the last time I think they removed Stuart Broad from the ODI plans? Have any idea, both of you?
I think that was close to sometime in 2013 or 14, if I remember back. I'm not really sure because it was a long time back.
Okay. I think like at some point I think they were still considering the point that they were still considering they're always looking a bit bland. And when you had a batsman like Jonathan Trott and Ian Bell in the lineup, I think they were always looking to be a very 280 kind of team, which has been totally the lopsided approach from them this World Cup. I mean, coming into this World Cup for the past 4 years. So let's look at it instinctively. What do you think, starting from Banterboi, whom do you think goes into tomorrow's World Cup? as with the most winning mentality.
I think I'll go with New Zealand. Okay, Banterboi, please.
Yeah,
He meant he said you only banter boy.
not Banterboi.
Banterboi. Okay, Banter. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, new. I think I'd say New Zealand over here. They had 6 players playing in the World Cup final last time, so that experience might help them. England have shown some fragilities from time to time. They struggled against Sri Lanka and Pakistan chasing, so wouldn't call them clear favorites here. If New Zealand have really attacking bowlers here, Lockie Ferguson, Matt Henry, Trent Bolt, all are wicket taking options here. And maybe if the weather helps them, they could set England on fire.
So how about Statsboi? What do you think of tomorrow's match?
But my heart wants New Zealand to win, but I think this is going to be advantage England because they're going to read the conditions much better. They are much more used to the Lord's slope. This has historically been a low-scoring game, and England has actually not performed well in Lords. But given the fact that they have been losing, they have been winning the past few games, and Jason Roy has been giving a good uh, start for them. It will all depend upon how much Trent Bolt can take the top order down. But other than that, I would give it to England.
Yeah, it was interesting point there that Trent Bolt was the only left arm seamer coming into the game tomorrow. So we could see him bowling from the pavilion end, right?
He should be bowling from the media center end, right? That is the one that has its swing more.
Yeah, the McGrath end, the Glenn McGrath end, basically.
Yeah, so the one that faces the Lord's Pavilion. So that's something that I mean, given also if New Zealand bowls first tomorrow, there is a bit of rain expected early in the morning. There is going to be swing on the air, and the Lord's pitch is going to provide swing after the seam. So maybe Trent Bolt could be wavered in his lines early, which could give the advantage for the England batsman up front. But that will depend again upon when he bowls.
Yeah. And two particular bowlers who maintain that the off-stump channel disturb the off-stump channel a lot are Chris Wokes and Matt Henry. So I think they will get more assistance as well if they bowl early. And so, do you think New Zealand will start off with spin against Jason Roy and Bairstow?
When New Zealand has quality swing bowlers and spin bowlers, Matt Henry did a good job against India. So maybe they would not start with spin up front. They'll want to see how the slope and the swing conditions are assisting their bowlers first. But if it is not much, probably Santner could come in to bowl. But I don't see them starting with spin on a World Cup final.
Yeah, I think it depends on how well Kane Williamson is willing to roll the dice. I think the last game he did show that he could go all the way attacking till the end. How he used the bowlers using Lockie Ferguson, just leaving more of Lockie Ferguson over till the end, and he still came up trumps, I guess. So maybe one over of Santner, maybe we could see, but then again, that would be a huge move to do. Just imagine the World Cup final starting off with 25 runs from both the openers against Santner. Or
Yeah,
it could
if he
also,
starts with Santner, it could be the result defining over of the match about what he does. That's my
yeah,
feeling.
that's true. I think a special
Possible changes?
mention, yeah, I would say, yeah, I think it's unchanged side, no surprises should be there. Um, Given New Zealand's favoritism for horses for courses, and they have already got winning side from the previous game, so I think they would stick to that. And England, yeah, of course, given it Lords and not much, doesn't look like there is any. It would dry any sooner, so I think the Adil Rashid would be enough. So we have a spin option in Joe Root, so there is no reason for them to go to switch to Moeen Ali at this point. So it will be an unchanged 11 for England as well.
I think Henry Nichols was supposed to have a nickel, but I think he should be fit for the final.
Yeah, I was going to speak about that. Like Colin Munro actually had an extra batting session yesterday in the Nets, so that might be a sign that he could come in. That, but as the Banterboi had said, it is just because Nichols' nickel is a little bit worrisome. But talking of Nets, there was an extra session on the cross seam bowling, which predominantly Plunkett has been doing entire part of this World Cup. So New Zealand is coming in prepared. That's the limited point.
Of course, and the much talked about point about England has to be obviously the obvious candidate, Jofra Archer. I think he's one of the iconic cricketers who has had an impact straight away, like how Kevin Peterson had in the previous 2000s. So I think it's England were very lucky to have him coming into the World Cup and having that kind of an impact. I think that almost covered all their bases. Whatever uh, negatives, negative effects they might have with in Markwood actually. Markwood had the most wickets in this year, but and expensive. He was prone to be expensive and compared to the other bowlers as well. So, what are the bold predictions for tomorrow's game?
I think one of New Zealand's openers might finally get some runs.
So you mean to say, yeah. So even Ian Smith has been praying for a good day for quite some time, and it is all the tournament is almost to an end. So yeah,
We didn't have the last podcast telecaster, but I have also been speaking about it could be Guptil's day in the final. So yeah, that will be minus.
yeah. Guptill versus Vokes. I think that's the battle to watch.
What is
And
yours? Bold prediction.
I think tomorrow won't be Kane Williamson's day, and if New Zealand, whether they are put into bat or uh, they are chasing, I think they will. We might see a start of 16 for 2 with Kane Williamson back in the pavilion. So it'll be left to the rest of the middle order to test it out. And I think, regardless of other predictions, I think England, the way of how they have come into the last 4 years, Owen Morgan's mentality has been very way above than most of the captains. I feel like their preparation has been very consistent. They have stuck to the philosophy. It's almost a poker kind of high stakes poker mentality he has always had, and they are stuck with just a single option of Adil Rashid, occasionally Moeen Ali. But I think that's what puts them at a higher echelon even compared to India. Like India has always had their uncertainty around the middle order, and it's stabbed them really good in the semi-finals. I think New England in that manner, I think they were just victims of their own high stakes mentality rather than having a weakness as such. So I think their approach has been. I know Ian Bishop likes to talk about Pakistan as the most mercurial side, but I think Morgan's mentality to play the high dashing cricket has instilled real faith in the bowling lineup. So it's there's actually a saying, there's actually a quote that Morgan doesn't have five bowlers. He just has a bunch of poker players that play on any match situations and play the game quite well. Even in the Australia's game, it was noticed that Adil Rashid was not really consistent, but he still stuck to him. He always goes to Adil Rashid, even if he's giving runs. I think so. It's going to be a Stokes day tomorrow, and he will redeem himself from remember the name to marking his own name to tomorrow's match. So it's going to be England all the way. So any last words from Statsboi?
I think I'll go all black in tomorrow with my thought running that England is winning.
So of
I
course
think
we would.
Plunkett might be very crucial to England's success tomorrow.
That's true. Plunkett is a very good personality as well. Like I think at least 3 years ago, he almost had the chance. I mean, he was willing to donate one of his kidneys to his dad, and it was just a moment of playing further cricket. He was almost going to not play, give up his career for sake of his family, but eventually it ended well, and he didn't have to go to the procedure, and he has come back like a top professional. So much mentioned to him, and I think he's due to start tomorrow as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll try to fit in segments tomorrow if possible, if any of us could host whenever possible. I think mostly we could have it somewhere around the mid of first innings, maybe. So until then, yeah,
Adios.
adios.
Adios.